Hello everyone, welcome to yet another Fear Dragon Patreon vlog. My name is Fear Dragon, and today is July 4th, America Day of 2015. And this is the Patreon vlog, kind of covering the last 2 weeks just because I was in WCS Toronto last weekend. So wasn't able to do a vlog that last weekend. Gonna have one this weekend though. And this is the more important one. There wasn't really a whole lot of updates for the last one just because, again, I was out of town. I did some casting, but it was kind of more impromptu. Hey, Tempo / hey, Lycan, you want to just do this WCS qualifier? That was really kind of how it went. But anyways, quick updates on the Patreon stuff. So I want to say I got the money for the first month of Patreon that I have, and I received an astounding $153. I am still profoundly confused how I received this much money. I was very much just anticipating to get somewhere between $10 to $15, but it turned out to be much more successful than I anticipated. So thank you very much to everyone that's contributed, and even the people that haven't contributed. Big thank you guys to anything that you've ever watched that's mine. But with that being said, $153 for the month of July. The month of June, that is going to go toward NA Ladder Heroes for the month of July. That's going to be the very first month of NA Ladder Heroes, and that's kind of why I want to transition to talk about NA Ladder Heroes. So the values for the NA Ladder Heroes for the month of July is going to be a little bit weird and different because we're starting after the GM ladder list releases, which is going to be on Monday, so in 2 days as of the recording of this. But what that means is that there's only going to be 3 weeks around for the month of July for NA Ladder Heroes, which means that there's going to be a little bit more at stake per week for the weekly incentives, and plus the $152 or $153 also going to be adding into that a little bit. So as I go ahead and get all of the values pulled up in front of me, there we go. So the new values for this particular month, for the month of July, have been set. This is how it's going to go. Week number 1, 2, and 3, the weekly incentives for NA Ladder Heroes are going to be $48 for first place each week and $16 for second place each week. This is a bump up from the $25 first place and $10 second place. And for the monthly finals, it's going to be $215 for first place, $107 for second place, and $35 for third place. And these are bump ups from $156, $78, and $26. Not retrospectively. I'm blanking on the word, but you guys know what I mean. So that's freaking awesome. That's like really, really cool news. That's for the monthly tournament, that's a $75 increase in the prize pool. I mean, that's kind of awesome. And that's just for first place. Overall, again, $153. Super duper cool to see. But of course, some of that is due to the fact that since we have only 3 weeks for the weekly incentives, we can afford to give a little bit more. And next month is probably going to be slightly lower values just because it's easier to pay out the exact same amount of money for 3 weeks than it is for 4 weeks. But regardless, we'll cross that road when the time comes and find out what those values are. But that's kind of the updates on NA Ladder Heroes. In terms of what I'm going to be casting over the next kind of week or two, I really want to cast all of the WCS qualifiers. That's like one of the most fun times of the year for me. Besides going for events. Going for events is mildly a little bit more fun in certain ways, but of course a little bit less fun because I don't get to watch. It's a really weird thing. I'll talk about this in a little bit because I want to talk about WCS Toronto. But I want to cover everything else so that people who don't want to hear me ramble about WCS Toronto can just listen and then leave and then make sure that I'm not on the list of broken promises in eSports or something. But yeah, so I want to cast WCS qualifiers on Tuesday and Thursday, but unfortunately I have a full-time job and that does hold me back, unfortunately. And that means that I likely won't be casting much of them. If I do cast them, it'll be after I get home from work, which is going to probably be, 2-3 hours after they've already started. So that's kind of like, I can cast the later stages of the WCS qualifiers, and I might even just hit up people, kind of like how I did on Thursday, where I just messaged Lycan and said, hey, I am probably going to be home from work after the WCS qualifiers have already started, and if you're solo casting, then I'd love to join you. And we actually ended up doing that. I say we because it was Tempo, Desro, Lycan, and I for the final series of the WCS qualifiers, and I thought that was a lot of fun. But I might do more stuff like that, just hopping in, seeing if other people are around. Otherwise, I'll just start up my own stream and see who's around to cast it. Otherwise, I'll just go solo. Besides that, ESL NA Open, going to be doing it tomorrow, i.e. Sunday, July 5th. And that is going to be with Gemini. Gemini, the ultimate Protoss player, the one also known very, very widely spread as Liquid Hero's biggest fan. But he's a really, really solid GM level Protoss player. I'm really looking forward to casting with him for the very first time. So that's going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, July 5th, if you guys want to tune in for that and you catch this video before that's out. But besides that, not too sure what's going to be happening the following weekend. I know that NA Ladder Hero Season 1, Week 1, Month 1, Day 1, well, not really Day 1, but Week 1 is going to be coming to a conclusion on July 11th at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and that is a Saturday for Pacific, and I guess it becomes a Sunday for Eastern because it's at midnight. But Saturday, July 11th. So if you guys want to check that out, I may or may not have like a stream for that. It's sort of hard to do the stream because I know a lot of the players probably won't be streaming, so it's like, oh well, I'm gonna be commentating play-by-play of literally point values updating as people play games. As I can't watch the StarCraft games, I just talk about the fact that StarCraft games are being played. So I probably won't do a stream for it, but that will be the first ladder lock, and if anyone is interested in registering for NA Ladder Heroes, now is the time before GM ladder list comes out, and while you still have time before the actual first week lock, and that should be that. So regardless, that's kind of it on that. Talking really quickly about WCS Toronto, because I think this has already been going on for a little bit. WCS Toronto was a ton of fun, and you know, I realize that I'm sort of lucky because I wouldn't say I'm like super well known in esports or anything. I'm like still a pretty small time guy, but I at least know of people in esports, and I have like some connections now. So when I want to go to an esports event, I hit up and say like, hey, who's going for this? I can usually find people that are going that I already know. But I want to say something about attending events that you don't know anyone who's going for it. So for example, let's say you want to go for such and such event that's maybe a little bit far out, not super far out, just like a little bit far out, and you don't know anyone who wants to go. You can't try talking to your friends. They don't really want to go because they're not into StarCraft or something like that. Maybe they're busy, whatever. And I think there's a lot to be said about going to events and just kind of finding friends and making friends and hanging out with them. And this is something that I used to do a lot when I went for not just events, but like bar crafts and all that kind of stuff. Because I didn't really, for a really long time, I kind of was near some people who would be vaguely interested in StarCraft, but they wouldn't want to go for events that were, 5-hour drives out, or like a plane ride out from somewhere. They weren't that hardcore, they weren't committed, they didn't have the passion for it. And I really want to encourage people that it is very much possible and doable to go to a lot of these events and to just find groups of people that like StarCraft. Because I mean, it's quite literally this commonality of, hey, all these people are coming to this event because they love StarCraft. They love watching StarCraft, playing StarCraft. Something about StarCraft that really, really is appealing to them. And it's so easy to just go into the crowd, sit down next to a stranger or, someone else who's just sitting there, and just, if they're watching the game in the audience, just talk to them about the game. And suddenly you kind of get along, you start talking with this person more and more. You start talking about, oh my god, I don't think he can do, I think he's dead right now. No. I think that if he can do this other thing because he's done this, you start having those kind of conversations, and it sort of builds up, and then you just sort of hang out with them. And sometimes, they'll have their own friends and everything. You go hang out with their friends as well. You go to bars, you just meet people, you have drinks with them, and whatever. Like, there's so many different ways you can meet people. And, after a while, like maybe group is melding with you, whatever the word is. I don't pretend to like I can talk for not a living, but talk for StarCraft. Oh my god, my words fail me right now. But point is, you can find groups that will eventually work for you, and you get their number or something. You meet up with them in the next day, especially at Barcrafts. God, Barcrafts are so easy. Everyone there wants to go meet and talk with other StarCraft people. And it's so weird because I'll go to a lot of Barcrafts and I'll see people just kind of awkwardly sitting to themselves, and I'll go up to them and try and start a conversation with them. And then suddenly they open up and they're like, oh yes, someone's here and they really care and they actually want to talk about StarCraft. But they don't really feel comfortable approaching other people. I want to encourage other people. I know even like the social introverts. I'm actually an introvert myself a little bit as well. I know sometimes I probably might not come off that way since I quite literally broadcast myself on the internet to tens of viewers. But no, I mean, like, I am an introvert as well, but the thing is, I realize that if you know that there's other people you want to talk with about StarCraft, they probably want to talk about it as well. Just go talk to them. The worst that happens is they show a ton of signs of not being interested, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll just go talk to someone else. Like, that's just done and done. Like, they're not gonna come find you and where you are living in your hotel room later that night and, I don't know, like, start cannon rushing you in your bed or something. Like, there's nothing bad really gonna happen. So I want to really encourage people to go do that. Go to events, go to Barcrafts that are local and nearby, go to local LAN events especially. There's a ton of them that happen. Even in the United States, a lot of people complain about, oh man, there's no LAN events, there's no small local events in the US. That is definitely not true. You have to search a little harder to find some of them. They're not ginormous like dream hacks or anything, but there's a ton of stuff. There's like, for example, Florida has like the Gator Lands. You got a ton of things going on in Southern California. I know like REM, for example, and Intense are really heavily involved in a lot of that kind of stuff. You have the DC area LAN events that happen a ton. I know Minnie Mouse goes, or sorry, not just Minnie Mouse, but Minnie Mouse, who does the graphics for me. So that she was the name that came to mind. But also the Nan Man commentates for a lot of them. Zombie Grub shows up for quite a few of them. A ton of other players also show up for those. We also got, let's see, I know that there's occasionally some other stuff in San Francisco. There's stuff all throughout the Midwest, usually at universities. If you go look at like CSL and like those kind of universities, a lot of them will have LAN events that they just have open tickets for. You can go show up and just play StarCraft as well as other games with, people who like StarCraft and other games. So that's kind of my spiel. Go check out LAN events. Go see if there's any nearby. Go meet people, because it's really easy to just kind of say, I know I do this a lot as well, where you say, man, being on PC, like consoles I think have it a little bit easier, but being on PC, you can just kind of sit at home and feel like you're socially interacting with a ton of other people. And you can be, and that's great. I don't want to take anything away from that. But at the same time, there's a lot to be said about going hang out with a lot of people in real life and just hanging out and talking about StarCraft. It is so much fun. I cannot express how much fun I have every single time I go for some of the live events like MLG Anaheim 2011, 2014, MLG Columbus in 2013, WCS Toronto, IEM San Jose, BlizzCon. Like, all of these events have been so much fun for me. The Barcrafts that I've gone for, just even inviting people, like for example in my college, to come hang out and sit with me at like 4 in the morning to watch GSL. It's a ton of fun. I really encourage people to go do it. And yeah, that's going to be my closing words. So thank you all so much for tuning in for this Patreon vlog. I want to give a huge shout out to all the people supporting me on Patreon. The people I am aware of are Oh Fuck You one of the new supporters for this week, or sorry, for this month. Thank you very much, man. I very much appreciate it. And I know people were like, oh, why don't you censor the names? Well, this guy has earned it. You know, normally I would be like, oh, OFU, or I'd be something like that that wasn't his actual name. And you know what? No, this guy's a total badass, supports a ton of stuff, has done gotten base trade TV to do a bunch of show matches that he completely funded. He sponsors Team Gravity Fight Night, Tournament of Champions and stuff. He's done so much. So big shout out to Oh Fuck You. Of course, also big shout out to Carrie Murray, Patrick Quiss, Gilino Prone, Zealous Sam, KJ Freedom, Bodane Arain, Kale Christensen, and Scott Clandidin. You guys are freaking awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing someone, because I feel like I'm missing someone. Am I missing WCS? Am I missing ESL Torrential? I think I am. So big shout out to you, man. He is freaking awesome. He's done a ton of support for the Patreon. And he did want a show match that's coming up. Rotterdam is supposedly going to play against Pili Pili. They both agreed to do it, and they're both agreeing to do it on the EU server, but we've sort of just been waiting for when Rotterdam is not traveling, because when you're a big money caster like Rotterdam, you know, sarcasm aside, when you're Rotterdam, basically, you're really, really busy and you're constantly traveling. And right now he's at Home Story Cup, and, you know, we're just trying to find a time where they're both going to be available. It should be coming up relatively soon. I apologize for this one, as it's coming a little bit late now, since we've been trying to schedule this for a couple of weeks. But I promise that's going to be coming up. Show match between Pili Pili and Rotterdam for $50. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you guys next week.